Welcome everyone to Scroll Sessions. This is a new studio, season 2.
We're very excited about this studio. This happens to be right across the street from our actual office in Kaysville.
And for those of you wondering if we built a massive studio, yes, 100% we built this all on our own. No, so Catalyst is a part of Davis School District, and it's right across the street from our office. And they have graciously offered to let us use their studio to help their students learn, and we are stoked about it because look at this place.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. Yeah, Catalyst is a place for high school seniors and kids in high school to take their more or less college credit courses and get additional technical training in, anything from audio visual to, web and graphic design. There's some marketing courses, business courses. You can get like partial pilot's license here. There's a whole bunch of really cool stuff.
There was a helicopter that landed in the
field.
back of Catalyst today.
Yeah, I don't know if that was part of a class today or not, but pretty cool. So,
Let's actually talk about that for a minute because school, for me growing up, I went to Davis High School, which is technically in this jurisdiction, I guess you could say. And I hated school, and I was terrible at it. I never went to I tried as hard as I could to not go to class if I didn't have to, and I wasn't going to get a U.
Yeah.
And I didn't get great grades, and my parents were always
tests.
upset. Yeah. And you were the opposite, right?
Yeah, I was pretty much the opposite.
Student body.
Yeah, I served in student body. I was pretty involved in high school. I was a pretty good test taker. I got really good grades normally, honestly, without trying too hard. For some reason, I have a good memory.
Okay.
And you know me with my memory, I just feel like I can just remember stuff really easily, and so tests weren't that difficult. I did struggle in certain classes, but I think
you and I had
I struggled in chemistry, man. Chemistry was so difficult for me for whatever reason, but I feel like you and I had very opposite high school experiences.
Yes,
for sure.
100%. And seeing Catalyst was like this mind-blowing experience for me.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Because I thought I played music in high school too, and as we walked in today, there were all these kids that were playing guitar, drums,
drum set in there,
recording.
Yeah.
I'm like, this would have changed my life in high school. And I guess for the people that don't know too, like this is all of the Davis School District.
I believe Catalyst just serves Davis School District alone.
So how many high schools are in Davis School District? I'm not even sure, but
yeah, there's
3 or 4.
Look it up at least that.
But there's 10 high schools.
10 high schools.
That's amazing. Okay, so the thing that I just think is amazing about this program is the fact that like it gets people really involved. Like there's students here today working on the set. There's students that are speaking in our ear. There's students doing everything. And I feel like if I had something like this when I was in high school, I would have just eaten it up and been able 100%. To really excel. Not to mention, we've also hired interns through this program.
Yep.
And can you imagine getting real world experience in high school?
In high school, it's crazy. Yeah, like I internships and definitely like CTE was a thing when we were in high school. But there was nothing like at the level that it is today, for sure. Like I had friends that did internships and stuff, but I didn't partake when I was in high school. But like, yeah, if something like this existed, holy cow, you'd be so much ahead of your peers if you decided to go this route. And for anyone that's in Davis County or has kids that are in high school in Davis County, like look into the Catalyst program because it's huge. It's really, really, really cool.
Yeah. Honestly, I just think if you were in high school or even in college, and all the people who sit there and complain about how schools aren't offering the support that they need for real world experience, like Davis School District is offering that experience. Like these kids could go get jobs after they graduate here. No problem.
Yeah.
The people that we hire as interns could get a full-time job with us. No problem, as they actually learn real world skills.
Yeah.
So I think it's amazing if you are a parent in the Davis School District, or if you live in the vicinity, like don't be dumb. Make your kids do something like this. Or if you have already graduated and you wish you had something like this, go offer to be an intern somewhere. Go
Yeah.
offer to learn somewhere for free. Like, experience is everything, and that's the way that the next decades are going to go.
Yeah. Oh,
Um,
yeah. 100%.
Nobody's going to care as much about a degree. Don't listen, students. Nobody's going to care as much about a degree. They're going to care way more about the experience that you have.
Yeah.
So this is amazing, and I hope higher education is doing stuff like this. And I know that higher education kind of already was, but
this is
pretty
awesome
cool.
that, Davis School District has made this investment into its high school students, and I think hopefully sets all of you guys up for a better path in life than even we had, and hopefully sets you guys up for a good trajectory long term.
So that's our intro. We're probably gonna just talk about Catalyst every time we come here, because I am just honestly
It's pretty
mind blown.
Yeah.
And the faculty here
Yeah.
are amazing at
Yeah.
what they do. So
Well, we can jump into, like, I guess, this is season 2, and season 2 is I feel like season
going into winter, hence our background.
Yes, going into winter for sure. Season 1 we had a lot of awesome guests, and all during that time we talked a little bit about Scroll and about obviously like what we are and what we do, but we didn't like get into it a little bit more. So in this episode, a little bit, we're going to talk about Scroll, kind of how we started, a little bit of our history, where and where we are today and what we're doing now.
Yeah, I mean, the podcast is called Scroll Sessions, but really we like to highlight entrepreneurs, and I think we'd like the feedback from people that listen to understand what is it that they want to hear. And you and I have been having these conversations, Dan, about what do we want Scroll Sessions to be. We did a season 1. We interviewed some awesome people.
Yep.
But what's the goal out of the podcast? This isn't a money producing thing for us right now. It's just something that we're passionate about. We're passionate about the state of Utah.
Yep.
We're passionate about entrepreneurs here. We're passionate about marketing. And we would love to understand how we can catapult this podcast into something that is super valuable for the people who listen. So I think feedback is going to be critical on understanding where to go next. But like Dan was saying, like you were saying, for some reason in this setting, I feel like I'm speaking to like other people.
That's okay. I feel like we are.
I'm gonna get used to that, but like, I think what you're saying is that, we haven't had a chance to really brag about Scroll, who we are and what we do. So let's maybe get into that and say, first of all, I know we had in one of our very first episodes shot on GoPros in our office.
That's very true, man.
We
Come a
talked
long
about
way.
Scroll and how we started. So maybe quick recap on how Scroll started, and then let's get into like what we were offering. So maybe you give your perspective on how Scroll started, because yours is a lot taller than my perspective.
For those who don't know or can't tell on camera or audio, I'm 6'5".
Audio, you can usually tell.
Yeah, usually you can really tell, I'm 6'5", and it's always like the number one thing, I've been told my whole life, wow, you're really taller than I expected.
This is why I want to take you to Japan.
Oh, I know, everybody's going to be taking pictures. But in terms of how Scroll started, Shane and I, we didn't know each other in high school. We did go to the same high school. We knew a lot of the same people, though, for sure. We didn't get connected until much later, after we served our LDS missions and we started going to school. We kind of reconnected and met at LDS BC at the time. And, you dropped out of LDS BC and got a job for KSL. I continued through school, but at the same time, we were doing a lot of similar things. You were selling digital marketing, more or less, and I was kind of doing consulting for digital marketing in the influencer space in college and out of college and shooting content and stuff. And then post all of that, you had left, KSL where you were working at the time, or DDM, and you wanted to do things on your own. And at that time, I was doing photography on my own. I had been self-employed for about like 2 years doing photography on my own and consulting. And you had posted on social, I think it was Instagram or something, saying, hey, I'm getting an office space. Like I want to get out of my house or get out maybe your dad's office at the time. You're like,
a little bit of both.
Yeah, I want to, have my own separate office. And that piqued my interest because I wanted to get out of my then in-laws' house that I was living in, because we were house sitting for them. And I was just like, I just want an office outside of my house. And so I hit you up. And then we went to lunch. And we went to Zao in Bountiful. And we ended up having that lunch that was supposed to be like an hour, and it turned into 5 hours.
But luckily, we both were on our own and didn't have a job to get back to.
Yeah, exactly. That 5-hour lunch then turned into a business literally the following week. We just talked about everything that we were doing. I think we realized we get along really well. We have really, I think, strong skills that are very complementary to each other. And we were like, maybe there is something here. Maybe we go for it, And I think we had the lunch on the Friday, and we moved into the office together on a Monday. And that, I think, from then on out, changed definitely my life. I know it's changed your life too. But.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a wild ride. I think the one thing I'd want to ask on that I don't think we've asked each other before.
Yeah.
Weirdly, someone so long, and I'm like, I've asked you everything, and me and my wife randomly will be like, I can't believe I've never asked you this question.
And we spend a lot more time. Well, we should probably spend more time with our spouses, but we spent a lot of time with each other in the last 5-6 years.
Yes. Yeah. The question I would have is, why entrepreneurship? Like, let's go back to that day at Zao, or the day that we decided to move into an office. Why entrepreneurship for you? You've always done more entrepreneurial things. Yeah. You grew up in a semi-entrepreneurial household, but also a household that focused heavily on education.
I grew up in a very independent household. Like, my parents raised all of us to be very, I don't want to maybe not necessarily say independent of them, but definitely independent thinkers for sure. Both my parents are in the medical field. Both have very advanced degrees. And so education was always important. My dad traveled quite a bit. So like travel, culture, like just understanding the world was really important in my family. And I think that instilled a lot of things in me. Now, I didn't do anything entrepreneurial until probably I had some stuff that I would do in like junior high. Like, I started little side hustles and businesses that I would do, like as little as selling lemonade to like doing a recycling business in junior high. And we can get into that, but I got like a legitimate job after, in high school. I worked at a bakery, and I loved that. And that got me my first experience for what an amazing boss is, like a business owner who was grinding. And I have the other side now of like how hard it is to like pay for a retail space, to like run a very low margin business. And
what do you mean muffins aren't high margin?
Yeah. Food is like the lowest margin business you can get into. But I have a lot of more respect for her, Marnie, who was like my first boss, and she, such an amazing boss, business owner. I think had a lot of potential. It just sucks she had a lot of personal things going on that they had to shut the business down. After that, I went and worked in the hospital system in Utah. I worked for
following the parents' path.
Yes, following my parents' path, and I went and worked for University of Utah and Huntsman Cancer Institute, and I had horrible bosses. It was like my first time that I was. Honestly, I dreaded going to work. My coworkers were the worst. It taught me everything not to be when I was managing people and managing a business per se. And that's what really kind of pushed me in the direction of entrepreneurship. I didn't want anyone being pissed that I was 5 minutes late to work or something because I had to commute from Kaysville all the way to the top of University of Utah and traffic and you know what, like I'd have to leave forever early in order to make it exactly on time, or have somebody like super upset that I wasn't running fast enough going back and forth, like taking cars from the, garage up to the, valet, like just little things like that I'm just like, I don't want someone having to tell me what to do. And I think that like pushed me in the direction of entrepreneurship and photography. I'd always taken, pictures, not professionally, but I had a camera and I'd always done that since junior high. And so that really pushed me into entrepreneurship. I'm like, I'm done with this boss. I'm done with having someone control my schedule. Like I need my, I need the freedom to do what I feel like I need to do. And that's, I think, what pushed me into entrepreneurship. And then I quit. Well, first, I was a little smart about it. I had gotten engaged, and my wife and I were about to be married. And I told my wife, I was like, at the time fiance, I'm gonna do photography full time. I'm gonna quit my job. This was like a month before we got married, and I remember my father-in-law like absolutely grilling me about like what my plans were, because he knew that my wife's family comes from a very non-entrepreneurial family, very traditional, both teachers for like 30 years, both of them.
And she's the youngest, so everyone wanted to give you advice, right?
Yeah, oh yeah, big time.
All the siblings, the parents,
yeah, everybody wanted to hop in and say, "Oh, you shouldn't be doing that," But what I did was I replaced and doubled what I was making at Huntsman and University of Utah on a monthly basis with photography clients. And I did that about 3 or 4 months before I quit. So I had built up a savings, I had like built up a little runway, and I had a recurring clientele going at that point, and it was safe more or less at that point to then quit my full-time job a month before we got married and like go in, full steam ahead into an actual business.
I think that's one of the things that we've talked about on the podcast before, and just in general, entrepreneurship doesn't have to be risky.
Yeah.
And that was one of the things that even catapulted me when I was at then LDSBC. I had a class called entrepreneurship, and we read the book The E-Myth, which is all about
awesome book.
The myth of entrepreneurship and how entrepreneurship is so risky, and you have to take all these big jumps and quit a job and have no money and eat mac and cheese and ramen forever. But in reality, you can be very smart and not take a lot of risk with entrepreneurship, where you build up a savings, you build up a clientele, you have your 9 to 5 and you work your 5 to 9.
Yep.
Your 5 to 9 makes enough money that you can then quit the 9 to 5. And I think that's much more common now. So entrepreneurship to you was, you didn't want to have a boss. You wanted flexibility.
Yeah. It was a little bit out of like, I would say like personal necessity, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Like it was like, it wasn't necessarily like I'd never thought about doing it full time. I'd always like, I need to go get a job, right? That's what my family did. That's what my friends are doing. And but it was more out of like personal necessity for myself to prove to myself that I could do it. And I could also do something that I was at the time felt I was really good at. I was passionate about, like doing photography. And then, 1 or 2 years later doing, consulting, like really working with, people on their social media and influencer campaigns and marketing campaigns before we got together. Like that's what I became passionate about and realized like I can also make money at this and I'm pretty good at it.
Yeah. I feel like when I first got into entrepreneurship, I was looking for kind of the quick wins, like the next 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
But I wasn't looking long term. I wasn't wondering, what am I going to do for 10 years? What am I going to do for 15 years? And I think a lot of people get into photography for the quick win, right? Yeah. They can go shoot weddings and make $3,000 or $4,000. They can go and do family sessions and make $500, and that's extra money, but it's not consistent. And is this what you want to do forever? So how were you viewing photography? Were you viewing it as I want to have a studio one day, or were you viewing it more as like, I'm going to do this so that I have money while I'm going to school and I don't have to have a full-time job?
It's a great question. And I like to think I know what I was thinking then, but I at the same time, I think I'm smart enough now to know that like I had no idea. Like I really had no idea what I wanted out of it. I just knew that I've always enjoyed talking to people, connecting with people. I've enjoyed like the art of photography and like being outside in nature, and I knew I could combine the two of those things and it would bring money.
So you were just thinking in the moment,
Yeah.
I can make money and I can do the things I enjoy.
Yeah.
But you weren't thinking about your retirement plan or
No.
10 years ahead.
No, not at all.
Sounds like a classic photographer.
Yeah, not at all. Like I was not thinking 10 years ahead. And I think photography and obviously like service businesses in general, it's hard to scale them without additional people. Right.
Yeah.
And I think at some point, I realized, my wife and I, when I got married, I brought my wife on. My wife also is an artist, and she has, it was easy to teach her how to do photography. And, at one point we were doing like maximum about, I think the most we ever did in a year was like 38 weddings. And then we had, roughly 100 to 150 other shoots a year. And that was full time, and it was very busy. Like every weekend's gone.
And your wife was your support. She worked with you.
Yeah, she worked with me, and while she was doing school and stuff.
So scalability was a little better there because you had two people.
You got two people, so you got someone that can edit or we both went and shot, so you're getting new angles. But yeah, scaling photography or any service business is really difficult without additional people. And so you look at like the lifespan of a photographer, and it's actually like not that long. It's about like 10 years. Like most people do it for about 10 to 15 years and then stop. And looking at where I am right now, I've done it for about 10-ish years. And now it's like just a side thing that I do for when people hit me up and ask for referrals.
Yeah.
Like or former clients come back and say, hey, will you do my wedding? Or hey, do my kid's wedding or whatever. And of course, like I'm going to hop on that and help them out. But yeah, it's like those are hard. They're hard to scale. And we also started a service-based business.
Yeah,
again,
business hard to scale. Well, that's kind of a side rant, but I think it's interesting to know, why you got into entrepreneurship, what catapulted that, and some of the ins and outs of like, I think our early entrepreneurial journeys as both of us, very similar, right? Like we just wanted to maybe do something that we were passionate about, make money, but we weren't thinking 5-10 years ahead. We were just building something so that we didn't have to go work for a dumb boss at the hospital.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I felt like you had similar, at least maybe like personal necessity reasons for like becoming an entrepreneur. Maybe talk a little bit about like your path as well.
Yeah, I think I also became an entrepreneur out of necessity, but mostly because I had no idea what I wanted to do. All I knew was that I was good at sales.
Yeah. And
I had worked in sales and seen success. I didn't want to go to school and study anything particular. Nothing was really intriguing to me. And I always felt like called to do more than just sit in a desk and answer to someone.
Yeah.
So long story short, it was out of necessity. I didn't really have any other options other than a sales job. And I figured if I'm going to sell, I might as well sell for myself because the commissions are better.
Yeah.
So
yeah, 100%.
So that's why I got into it. And I hated working for people. I like to say that I'm a terrible employee, but a great business owner.
Yeah.
I'm a good employee short term, but eventually I'll cripple your business because I'll hate working for you.
Yeah.
And I will like undermine you, and I will want to like start coming up with ideas myself that the boss isn't going to want to implement or something like that. And that's my ego that gets in the way, and I need to be better about that. But I do think that I had great bosses. Like they helped me learn discipline. They helped me learn to get better at sales. They helped me learn more about digital marketing. My dad has been my boss before, and he's taught me a lot about entrepreneurship. So I just think that entrepreneurship for me was, I want freedom and flexibility. I wrote about this on LinkedIn the other day, but I remember my brother, who was also a professional photographer, and they
Yep.
were doing so well. He had shot Miss America's wedding,
Yeah.
and they were just killing it. And we'd go on family trips, and they'd be able to like spend money on a Patagonia jacket
Yeah.
on the trip as like a souvenir. And I thought that that was so cool because it's such an expensive jacket. Or they'd go to my family group text would go off, and my parents would be like, "Hey, anybody want to go grab lunch?" And none of the siblings had kids yet, but we were all
Yeah.
married.
Yeah.
And they would be like, "Sure, yeah, we'll come meet you there," because their schedules were flexible. Where I was sitting in a button-up shirt tucked in to some slacks in an office in a cubicle in Salt Lake, being like, I get 45 minutes.
Yeah, for sure.
So I didn't want that to be my life, regardless of how much money I made. It wasn't necessarily about the money; it was about the freedom. And I was just hoping that money would come. But industry, no idea what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And I think we were both in that same boat where it was like, yeah, I started a few product companies. You started your photography company. And then we ended up running a digital marketing company together.
Yeah.
So if people want to know more about kind of our journeys, we do have some earlier episodes that we can link, and they can go listen to those. But let's get into Scroll as it started. So Scroll as it started, we were web design and SEO.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
And a little bit
of social stuff on my end,
yeah.
but that only lasted for
like 3 months.
like 3-4 months until we decided like, hey, some clients left us, and we just realized it's a hard service to do as not a freelancer.
Yeah,
for sure.
This business was all started out of client needs, not out of our ideas and dreams. Literally, we just found people that were willing to pay us, and we did what they wanted us to do, and slowly built a business off of what other people wanted us to do.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like, hey, we're Shane and Dan, we're starting Scroll, and it's going to be web design and SEO and social. It was, hey, we've got 5 people that are willing to pay us for something.
Let's just deliver
on what they are willing to pay us on. So
Yeah.
I had a few people that were willing to pay me to build a website.
Yep.
So I built them websites. I had a few people that were willing to pay me for SEO. So I found a company that would do SEO, and then I just upcharged it.
Yep.
Social services, you had a few people willing to pay you?
Yeah, willing to pay to manage their social media and then create content and all that kind of stuff. And literally, I think it was the 3 or 4 months, we lost almost all of our clients, I think.
Yeah, I think we got up to, we had like $5,000 in recurring revenue together when we first started.
Yeah.
And we went and like bought office furniture and moved in, and then everything canceled.
Yeah. And then we realized, we're like, well, what do we do now? And we had the fun and smart idea of getting that Hometown Values magazine.
Yeah.
And shout out to Hometown Values. They probably won't like this, but we literally just like cold called. We went through that and the Valpak. We went through those 2 things, and we found businesses that their advertise, like they had more or less, it seemed like a strong business, and we would literally just call them and just say, hey, is print working for you? Do you understand if it is working? And here's digital marketing. Here's a new-ish way to go to market that is very trackable, that you can understand, everything about how it's working and if it's working for you.
Yeah, and I will say on that note too, we actually productized our business.
Yeah.
Instead of just saying, yeah, whatever these people that we know are willing to pay us to do, we built a business. We built a website. We called ourselves You Into Local, which is now Scroll. And we said, what are we going to offer? Like, let's offer web design and SEO. And then when we called through Hometown Values, we got a few people that were willing to take us on and work with us. And some of those people are still customers today. Noble House Design, we called from Hometown Values, and Split Rock Custom Homes, we messaged on Instagram.
Yep, and both those clients are still with us today.
After 4 years. So we love them, and they mean the world to our business.
Yeah, oh yeah.
But Scroll was just web design, SEO. We had productized it. We called some local companies. We named ourselves You Into Local because we were just offering some local easy services.
Yeah. And we did a lot of you and I did a lot of in-person appointments.
Yeah, pre-COVID. It was right before COVID, and we were doing we were doing a lot of in-person meetings.
Yeah, which is super fun. I think like we did an in-person appointment a little bit ago, and it was fun to kind of like have the nostalgia of that, because it was fun. Like you and I are really good when we go in person, and we're, for whatever reason, we have like an almost 100% close rate when it's you and I in person. So
well, let's talk about Scroll. Obviously adapted.
Yeah.
We brought on new people that helped us get into paid ads. We productized our business even more. We got much better at web design. Instead of hiring an SEO company to do our SEO for us, we built our entire SEO staff here in-house and in the Philippines. And so like, what is Scroll now? Not what is Scroll now. Let's talk about where we want Scroll to be in the next year as far as what we offer to companies. And this could be a discussion that we're having almost live, right?
Yeah.
Because
we've talked a lot about it.
Yeah, we have. We've talked a lot about it, but where are we going? Do we want to, for the people listening, Scroll helps. We have about 70 direct clients, but indirectly we manage about a total of 250.
Mm-hmm.
The reason for that is because we do a lot of white label work, meaning we do work for other agencies, and we want to find out what our niche is, because we have helped everyone.
Yeah, we're very like industry agnostic, which is kind of interesting, especially I feel like in our space. I feel like a lot of agencies are very much either pick a niche very early on or at some point decide to niche down. We haven't quite done that yet. I think we're on the precipice of probably doing that, but you know, we've the bulk of who we've worked with are in service industries, like in the home service space and professional services,
electricians, plumbers, HVAC, all those like
consultants, other agencies, stuff like that. Those are the people that we've worked with.
And recently we've gotten into big e-commerce customers, and we've done really well there because our ad buyers have been with us for multiple years, and they've gotten so good at what they do. Where we used to not touch e-commerce with a 10-foot pole. Now
we're handling like literally 6-figure monthly budgets.
Yeah, and growing them faster and better than other agencies, which is a huge hat tip to our ad buyers.
Yeah.
But something that, you know, at the end of the year, we always go over what we want to do for the next year, and maybe we can kind of start that discussion live on Scroll for the next year. What do we want to focus on? Yeah. Where do we want to go?
I think, at least in my opinion, where we scale and where we grow is we take our already strengths and just make them stronger. And we look at new opportunities, right? And we've talked about this, but I think one is like some kind of white label marketplace, right? We have white label is a huge percentage of our business, and I feel like we're really good at it. And, you know, all of our agency partners also would agree that we are really good at helping them outsource their services in a way that, you know, one is saves them cost from hiring in-house people to fulfill the work, but we're also actually delivering results on the web front, on the SEO front, and on the, you know, paid ads or performance marketing front.
And other white label agencies are garbage. They suck. And they're hiring all these people overseas. They don't have account managers. So the big thought is that a white label marketplace would actually have account managers here in Utah or here in the States that can actually oversee what's going on and communicate with the agency at a very high level, so that the agency is very clear on what we're doing. Yeah. We dealt with really crappy white label partners.
Yeah. For years.
Spending near $10,000 a month on white label partners. Yeah. And agencies deserve a good option to outsource. And I think that that's definitely going to be a focus for 2024. I think the big thing that we focus on is separating our business into what it actually is, right? We have the white label aspect of our business. Yep. We almost create its own website, let it exist as it is. Yeah. Then we have our direct to consumer, or I guess B2B website that is Scroll. And it's, here's our services, a la carte, pick what you want. And then we have like a very niche website that is here's this one product that you can buy from us,
Yeah,
and you can
over
buy it
and on.
online, or that ideally is how I would see 2024 going, is we separate out and actually maybe make 3 branded websites or 3 separate businesses almost
Yeah.
that run individual of each other.
Yeah, no, and I think that's awesome. And I think the cool thing is that looking back from where we started and just servicing more or less client needs, and then going productized, that shift to us going productized has been huge. Not only for like us internally, but it's given us a way to scale, right? Where I feel like a lot of agencies, they either get stuck in like a certain revenue amount, or they get stuck in a very particular niche or whatever it is, and they can't get past that, or they can't service more clients, either because they don't want to, or because they literally can't do it because of like either staffing or other scaling issues.
Yeah, I think that's a big goal of ours too for 2024 that we kind of have talked about, but something that I would love to get into more is staffing overseas a lot stronger. There's so many talented people overseas, and we've been compiling a list and going over it. We met with a company here in Utah called Bloom that works with the BYU Pathways program to help get overseas employees that are really talented.
Yeah.
I think building out that team could be really cost effective, give those people awesome opportunities, and then help us scale way faster, because we are at a more affordable price point, so that the barrier to entry is lower for small businesses. And the only way we can scale
is volume.
Is volume, and we need some more affordable options of staff in order to do that. So our core staff that's here, amazing. Getting overseas staff is going to make us a lot more scalable, because the last 2 years we've grown, but not as much as we'd like compared to our first 2 years.
Yeah.
And I think that having that solution is going to help a lot.
Yeah. And I'm excited for the future, man. I think we have a lot of we've got a really good solid foundation. I do feel like it's a foundation that I do believe we can continue to build upon. And I think if we continue to invest and really continue to niche down our more or less our products and services, and get those continuing to perform, because they are performing. I feel like doing an amazing job for our clients at the price point that they pay us at. And then, getting into also higher end offerings. We've brought on some more or less larger clients that we didn't normally or wouldn't normally take on, even a couple years ago. And that is, a good source of revenue to scale. And I think we have the ability to do that now, where we didn't a couple years ago.
Yeah, because we have staff here. We've got great contractors when needed. We've got good staff overseas. We're prepared to double our business in 2024 with the right marketing approach.
Yeah.
And that's something we can definitely get into at a later time.
Yeah.
Is our marketing approach for 2024.
Yeah.
Because I think we've got good stuff.
I'm excited for the rest of season 2 of Scroll Sessions. I think we have some really cool guests already lined up. We've got some awesome, I think, opportunities with the podcast. We started the podcast as like really a content experiment for us. I think you and I have enjoyed consuming content and enjoyed consuming podcast content, and we've got to do one ourselves.
If you're gonna consume, might as well create.
Yes,
right,
100%.
Well, let's give some teasers into some of the people that we're gonna be having on in not 2024, but in season 2.
Yeah.
We're gonna have some people on from Kizik.
Yep.
Really excited about that. We're going to have on a few people that own marketing agencies, so we'll probably dive a little deeper into the marketing agency world. Kizik, we're going to be able to talk about creative and e-commerce. Who else do we have?
We've got some other unique entrepreneurs. We've got the churro guy, so we'll get into awesome product founders. We've got some other local people here in Utah that are really involved in community building and tacos together. We've got some other awesome guests that are going to be coming on the next couple months.
But for those listening, let us know if there is anyone you want to see on. I have a feeling with the new studio, and we've upped our spend on our podcast too. We're actually running a lot of advertisements for it now. Yeah. So we're growing really quickly, and we want to get big hitters.
Yeah, we're excited.
So,
So let us know if you have any questions. This is season 2, episode 1. And I think that's a wrap for the first episode.
I think that's a wrap.
Okay.
That's it. Scroll Sessions. We're out.